Hi kids! It's Teacher Casey here. I hope you guys are all doing well. This week's lesson review is for the book of Esther, where we learned how God is protecting his people even when it doesn't seem like he is. Remember, while the Jews were living as exiles in a foreign land, Haman, an enemy of the Jews, was planning on destroying all of the Jews. He arranged for Esther, who was a Jew, to be queen, and then God worked through Esther and Mordecai, her cousin and adopted father, to preserve God's people and destroy their enemies. The bad guys like Haman got in trouble, while the godly people like Mordecai and Esther were given positions of honor. Now let's play a quick guessing game together. I'm going to draw something and then I want you to guess what it is. For the first lines in the drawing, it looks like this. Now, what do you guys think it could be? Maybe a road or a pair of chopsticks? What about when I add these lines? What could it be? Maybe a house? Maybe. But if I draw the final details of this picture, you might be able to guess it now. If you said a crown, that's correct. It is a crown. And just like you weren't sure what was being drawn at the beginning, God's plan unfolds in a similar way. He shows us a little bit at a time, and what may seem like random situations, or in this case, random lines, they're actually all a part of God's great plan. And we just might not be able to guess correctly until He shows us His entire plan. Now let's review. I have 3 questions for you. What is one situation that showed God's plan was at work? Well, there are multiple right answers to this, but one example was that out of all the women in Persia, Esther found favor in the sight of the king and became queen. And then she later works with Mordecai to stop Haman from killing all the Jews. How did Mordecai persuade Esther to speak up for her people? He said that God did not need her, but that God had put her in a place of power and was expected to do the right thing. And for the last question, number 3, why doesn't the book of Esther ever mention God's name? Well, this shows us that even when we can't see God at work, God is still real and He is still protecting His people. Great job answering. Okay, so now we know that it wasn't because a bunch of lucky coincidences happened that saved the Jewish people. It's because of God's plan that God's people were able to survive. And because of this led to the eventual birth of Jesus, who came down from heaven to pay for the penalty of our sin and save us from it. So no amount of wickedness was able to stop God's plan. And no matter what hard things that happen on this earth, we can be joyful knowing that the hope that we have in Jesus' promise to return is true. And for that we say, praise God.